right, welcome to the deep dive. Today we are tackling a pretty fascinating topic for you, the learner, who I know loves to just really get into the nitty-gritty of how things work and how people achieve success.
Yeah.
And we've got a ton of material all about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yeah, The Rock.
And we're not just talking about his movies or his wrestling career. We're really going deep into the leadership principles, the strategies that have really powered his success. I mean, he's had success in so many different areas.
Right. Different arenas, different industries.
Yeah. And so our mission today is to try to extract those core insights, the actionable knowledge that explains his impact, and even more importantly, maybe give you something valuable to think about yourself.
Exactly. We've got a really rich set of materials, looking at how he leads, how he's managed those incredible career shifts,
Right.
and how deliberate he's been in building this personal brand.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really a chance to understand how someone can resonate so widely and achieve such diverse success.
Right. And, I want to start with something that I think might surprise some people. When you think of The Rock, you think of strength, you think of, this larger than life persona. But the sources we're looking at today really emphasized vulnerability. And they talk about his openness, about, struggling with depression, financial difficulties, even professional setbacks.
And, this is where it gets really interesting because vulnerability, people might think of that as a weakness. But the sources we looked at really highlight how it's a key element of his strength. By sharing these challenges, he connects with people on a much deeper, more authentic level.
Makes him relatable.
Absolutely relatable.
Yeah.
And what makes it even more impactful, it wasn't just the admission of struggle, it's how he framed it.
Right.
It was often as a challenge that was overcome.
Right.
So it reinforced this underlying strength and resilience. It resonated, I think, because it offered hope, and it was a relatable narrative of progress and not just a confession.
That makes so much sense. It's like he's saying, hey, I've been there too.
Right.
And that just instantly builds trust.
Absolutely. It disarms people.
Yeah, and it's the opposite of that really curated, always perfect image that we see, so often, especially with celebrities.
Right. It's refreshing, actually.
Yeah.
In a world that's so saturated with these idealized portrayals of success, his candor breaks down those artificial barriers, and it fosters this sense of shared human experience.
Right. And, if you connect this to the bigger picture, his willingness to speak openly about mental health, especially as a man.
Right.
I mean, that is incredibly significant, right?
Huge, yeah.
He's using his massive platform to challenge the stigma, encourage more open conversations around it.
Which is so important.
Yeah. Now, this isn't just about, his public persona, right? The sources also talked about how this embrace of vulnerability, it actually has implications for how he leads teams.
Right.
How so?
Well, think about it this way. When a leader is open about their own imperfections, their past mistakes, it creates a much safer environment for others to do the same, right? It fosters this honesty, this culture where support can really flourish. When team members feel like they don't have to be perfect all the time, they're more likely to take risks, share new ideas, and ultimately build stronger, more resilient teams.
Here's where it gets really compelling for you, the learner. Have you noticed this in your own experiences, how a leader's willingness to just be open can impact team dynamics? Because it really challenges that sort of old school idea of, the unshakable leader who always knows best.
Right. The infallible leader, that myth.
Yeah.
If we take this idea even a step further and connect it back to, this idea of gaining knowledge thoroughly.
Right.
Consider how this principle of vulnerability could apply to your own learning process. Because being open about what you don't know can be the most crucial step towards deeper understanding.
All right, well, let's shift gears a bit to another area where The Rock has really excelled.
Yeah.
And that is, transitioning his career from professional wrestling to acting.
Yes.
I mean, the sources called it a masterclass in career transformation.
It really is.
What were some of the core strategies at play there?
Well, I think a key element was his very strategic leveraging of the Rock persona. So he didn't try to completely shed that identity when he moved into acting.
Right.
He took the inherent charisma, the connection with the fans, the on-screen presence that he'd cultivated in wrestling, and he carefully adapted it for the world of film.
Yeah.
So it was about building on that really powerful foundation, but also openly embracing the very different demands of his new profession.
So it wasn't a complete reinvention. It was more of a strategic evolution, capitalizing on what already made him stand out.
Absolutely. And that's a vital insight, I think, for anyone contemplating a significant career change. It's about identifying your transferable skills, your core strengths, the attributes that can be valuable in a new context, and also understanding that your existing brand or reputation, even if it seems unrelated at first, can be a huge asset.
Right. You know, the sources also pointed out that he faced skepticism early on.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure, not a lot of people in Hollywood were, super excited about this wrestler turned actor.
No, there was definitely some resistance.
Yeah.
And this really underscores how important persistence and a commitment to continuous improvement are.
Right.
He had to work incredibly hard to hone his acting skills.
Yeah.
Seek out diverse roles that challenged him and consistently prove his capabilities to, an industry that was initially very hesitant.
Right.
And I think he really met those doubts head on through, sheer determination and this pursuit of excellence.
And it sounds like his connection with his audience remained really important throughout that transition too.
Absolutely. I mean, he understood that his fan base, it extended beyond just wrestling, right? And he used social media so skillfully, sharing his journey, the challenges, the successes.
Yeah.
And this authentic storytelling, I think, fostered an even stronger bond with his global audience.
Right.
Which in turn really supported his acting endeavors.
Right.
Think about it. I mean, even in his early roles, his existing fan base was often a significant part of that initial audience. So, that existing connection is huge.
Yeah. It keeps coming back to that authenticity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That genuine connection, it just seems to be a recurring theme.
I think it's foundational.
And then, when you look at his filmography, he's done action, comedy, family movies. It's really impressive, that variety.
It is. And it demonstrates a commitment to challenging himself and staying relevant in a really competitive industry that's always evolving.
Yeah.
He didn't allow himself to be pigeonholed.
Yeah.
And I think that's key.
This is where it gets really interesting for you, the learner, especially if you've ever considered, a career pivot or just expanding your skill set. I mean, his journey really highlights this, the strategic thinking involved in identifying those transferable skills and adapting your personal brand to new challenges.
And I think if we connect this to a broader perspective on career development, it serves as a powerful reminder that career paths are rarely linear. They're not straight lines.
Yeah.
And it takes real courage to redefine yourself, pursue those ambitions, especially when you're facing external doubts.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's talk about this idea of authenticity and brand building. Because the sources really emphasized how he's built such a powerful and enduring personal brand by, staying true to himself and just consistently demonstrating this incredibly strong work ethic.
It's remarkable, really.
Yeah.
Because what's fascinating here is the consistency with which he has embodied these values. It's not just about carefully crafted marketing.
Right.
It's deeply ingrained in how he operates. And his dedication to hard work is almost legendary.
Yeah.
But he's also managed to maintain that signature charisma while showing genuine personal growth and evolution.
Right.
Think about those consistent early morning workout posts on social media.
Oh, yeah.
It's a tangible representation of that work ethic.
Yeah, he's always, putting in the work.
Yeah.
So would you say it's about this real alignment between who he is at his core and how he presents himself to the world?
I think that's exactly it.
Yeah.
It's this congruence between words and actions that build profound trust and loyalty with his audience.
Yeah.
They feel like they really understand who Dwayne Johnson is. And that authenticity, it extends beyond just his professional life into his philanthropy, how he interacts with fans.
Yeah, I mean, you're right.
It's all connected.
It's like his genuine personality acts as a bridge, connecting with people across different fields. And I think that's part of why he's become a role model since the entertainment industry, right?
He's not just The Rock, the action star.
Right.
There's a sense of Dwayne Johnson, the person, that really resonates.
Yeah. And that's incredibly valuable, I think, especially today. You know, when people are so discerning,
Yeah,
they can really spot inauthenticity a mile away.
right. They can smell it.
Yeah, totally. This raises an important question for you, the learner.
Mhm.
How do you ensure that your own personal brand, whether in your professional life, your personal life, really reflects your core values and your commitment to your endeavors?
That's the question.
Yeah. All right, so let's focus a little more specifically on his leadership within the entertainment industry.
Okay.
Because the sources, they made it clear that his influence extends way beyond just his acting roles.
It really does.
Yeah.
And what's particularly noteworthy is his proactive approach to leadership. You know, he's not just passively waiting for opportunities.
Right.
He's actively involved in shaping the projects he's a part of, influencing the broader industry. And a prime example of this is his very vocal and consistent commitment to diversity and inclusion in his films and television shows.
Yeah.
He's very consciously making decisions to ensure that a wider range of voices and perspectives are represented both in front of and behind the camera.
That feels like a significant shift in power, right?
Yeah,
Going from just being a performer to having a real hand in what gets made and who gets those opportunities.
absolutely. He's leveraging his influence to affect real change.
Yeah, and that leadership extends to his mentorship of emerging talent. You know, there are so many accounts of him taking the time to guide and support, you know, up-and-coming actors, writers, producers.
And he's paying it forward, creating a space for others to thrive.
Right, and then of course there's $7 Productions, the production company he co-founded.
Yeah.
That seems to be, you know, a central pillar of his leadership within the industry.
It is, and it really showcases his visionary entrepreneurial spirit, right?
Yeah.
He's not just content to star in projects. He's building this media enterprise that develops and produces, you know, a diverse slate of content across various platforms.
Yeah.
It gives him even greater agency to implement his vision for the industry and champion the kind of stories he believes in.
Here's where it gets really insightful, I think, for anyone who's, you know, thinking about the potential for impact. Someone in his position, they're not just entertaining, they're actively shaping the narratives
Right.
that reach a global audience and influencing the opportunities that are available behind the scenes.
It's about systemic change.
Yeah, totally. If we connect this to, you know, the bigger picture of leadership, it's a powerful example of how individuals with significant influence can leverage their platform to drive really meaningful change within their fields. Okay, so let's talk about something else that he does so well, and that is motivate others.
Yeah.
I mean, the sources highlighted how effectively he uses his platform to spread these messages of, you know, motivation, resilience, hope.
And I think what makes his messaging so effective is, you know, again, it goes back to that foundation of authenticity. Because he's been so transparent about his own struggles
Right.
and what he's learned from those experiences.
Right.
His words of encouragement carry much greater weight. It feels genuine, impactful.
So it's more than just, you know, the catchy slogans.
Right.
There's a real sense that he's speaking from experience, from having faced those challenges and come out stronger on the other side.
Absolutely. His emphasis on hard work, self-belief, perseverance, it's all deeply rooted in his own journey. And that lived experience adds a level of credibility to his message that I don't think you can fabricate.
Can't fake it.
Yeah.
And it seems like he also actively uses his platform to, you know, really shine a light on the achievements of others,
Yes.
creating this broader sense of community and shared inspiration.
Yeah, it's not solely focused on his own accomplishments.
Right.
You know, he's constantly celebrating the successes of others, amplifying those messages of resilience and determination. And I think it cultivates this really powerful sense of collective possibility.
Right.
That success is attainable.
Here's where it gets interesting when you think about the ripple effect of that kind of influence, right? It's not just about individual motivation, it's about contributing to fostering a culture of aspiration and the belief that hard work can lead to meaningful outcomes.
Absolutely. And if we connect this back to the core idea of learning and growth,
Right,
his approach goes beyond just superficial encouragement.
right.
He strives to connect with people on a personal level,
Yeah.
make them feel seen and understood, and empowered to take action.
Yeah. So, drawing all of this together, what would you say are the core leadership principles that emerge from his life and career?
Well, I think the sources really paint a clear picture. We see that strength derived from embracing vulnerability,
Right.
fostering genuine connection and trust. Then there's adaptability, which was so key to navigating those career shifts.
Right.
And of course, authenticity serving as this bedrock for his brand and his leadership style,
Right.
his commitment to inclusivity, the mentorship. All of this underscores the importance of empowering those around you.
Right.
And finally, his ability to motivate and inspire through his example and genuine connection.
So it's this dynamic interplay of, seemingly different qualities, strength and empathy, vision and the ability to adapt.
It's the combination, right? Not just a single characteristic in isolation, but the way they all work together.
That makes his leadership so effective.
Absolutely. And his lasting influence on the entertainment industry and really beyond. It serves as a compelling case study for what can be achieved when these principles are applied consistently.
And this is so valuable for you, the learner, to see how these qualities that seem so diverse can actually work in concert to create a leader who resonates so powerfully.
It challenges our assumptions about what leadership looks like.
Right. And it raises a crucial question for you. Which of these principles resonates most strongly with your experiences and aspirations? And how might you consciously work to integrate it more fully into your own approach, whatever your field or endeavors are?
It's about taking these insights and making them actionable.
Right, exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive into The Rock's journey, I think we've uncovered some truly valuable insights into leadership, right?
We have?
We explored that strength found in vulnerability, the art of navigating those career transitions, the power of building a brand on authenticity and hard work, fostering inclusivity, and inspiring others through that genuine connection and personal example.
It's quite a blueprint for effective leadership.
It really is. And so, on that note, here's a final thought for you, the learner.
Okay.
Consider how incorporating even just one of these rock-solid leadership principles into your own life could shift your trajectory. Maybe it's being more openly vulnerable in a challenging situation, or recognizing an existing strength that you could leverage in a new area.
Right.
What possibilities might emerge if you did that.
What might become possible?
Yeah. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Absolutely.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.